Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tech Informist. This is episode 70, recorded live on Friday, May the 15th, 2015. My name is Kevin Arvell. I am joined by Brad Whiteside. Brad, how are you?
I am doing fantastic after going to see Neil deGrasse Tyson on Wednesday.
Yes, we are definitely going to be talking about that a little bit later because I want to hear your experience, your thoughts, and
Oh, absolutely.
Really looking forward to that, and hopefully everybody else gets some good information about that as well. So, welcome everybody to another episode. This is the Tech Informist podcast, a show intended to help inform and educate listeners such as you and about the wonderful world of technology based on stories and that float through the news feeds of our computers as things that interest us and that we hope interest you as well. So you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google+, pretty much any social media outlet available, just by simply typing in Tech Informist or the Tech Informist, whichever. Any combination of the words will work. You can email us feedback or comment suggestions, anything. Just let us know what you think of the show. Just whether you leave a comment on the episode post or on the YouTube video for the replay, or via Twitter, or just email it to contact@thetechinformist.com. And one other little favor to ask. In our show notes, we have links to iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. We would really appreciate if you could head to either platform or all platforms, actually, and rate and review and possibly even subscribe. We would really appreciate if you could subscribe and leave a review, because by leaving a review, it helps other people find the show. It helps with rankings and things like that. And by leaving a review, that helps give other people an idea what you think of the show. So we really do value your feedback, and we're actually going to be putting a poll kind of survey together to start sending out to people in the hopefully not too distant future. Depends on workload and schedule and things like that, because we really want to try to make the show the best tech daily news show possible that we can, and we need your feedback. So your opinion is extremely important. So, and one other last thing before we move into the tech news: if you have a business or a company that you feel our audience and our listeners may be interested in your services or products, and you would like to be a sponsor on the Tech Informist, hey, please contact us. Email us, contact@thetechinformist.com, and just reach out to us, and we'll put together a nice little package for you, and not too extremely affordable, but it'll be worth your while, we hope. So please, that's pretty much all we ask. So let's move into the tech news. Brad, how are things, man? Just have a quick little chit chat.
Yeah, doing well. Unfortunately, I have to go to the dentist later, and those of you may not know, I am not a fan of the dentist at all, so not exactly looking forward to that. But it's something that needs to be done, and I think everybody needs to do that maybe more often than what we choose to do, because your teeth are important.
Oh yeah, they're definitely very important.
Whoops. Phone's going off. All right, anyway.
Gotta love the phone.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and turn that down a little bit.
Yes.
But that's going on. I'm getting ready to hit my 500th unique beer on Untapped, so I'm going to go on a little quest today to find a very unique beer to go along with that.
So what is your Untapped username if people would like to connect with you on there as well?
Oh, funny you should say that. It's I believe it's Holy Shadows, one word.
Holy Shadows, one word. So you're pretty consistent across all these things.
Yeah, it's a name that really hasn't been taken anywhere except Instagram.
Okay.
So yeah, it's Holy Shadows, one word. It's almost exactly like my gamer tag, except it's just squished together. So the H is capital and the S is capital.
Okay. Yeah, and if anybody would like to be friends with me on Untapped as well, you can do that. Just simply one word. It's Kevin Harvell. So that's keep it simple. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, you've got all sorts of things on here. 499 distinct beers, 243 badges. Look at you.
Well, to keep in mind, I've been doing this since 2011.
Yeah, you've really been
And
utilizing this app.
yeah, so I started noticing Mary Jo was taking like pictures of each beer, and there's actually badges for taking pictures of beers. But what I realized is that actually that's a really cool idea, because especially if you have it in a clear glass, you can really see like the color of the beer, and the color of the beer kind of is an instant, on switch in your head saying, oh, it's this color, so it could taste like this, or it may remind me of this. So, that's a first indication of like how a beer may or may not taste to some people. And I mean, beyond that, if you're looking for said beer in store, it's kind of nice. I take a picture of the bottle too with the beer next to it, and that way you kind of get an idea of what you're looking for in stores.
Yeah, I mean, when you walk into some of these places, like Friar Tuck's, for example,
which I'll be going to later.
My goodness, you walk in there and it's like I still remember the first time I walked into like a toy store, like Toys R Us when I was a kid.
Yes.
You walk in and you just see the stuff just like
walls.
Stacked to, walls full. And it's like, I did not know they made that many different beers. And that's not even all of them. You can't get everything at Friar Tuck's.
No, I mean, it's just like a handful of like maybe some offshoots that you've never heard of before that are relatively popular, and maybe some that aren't popular at all that they just managed to pick up, in their catalog. And that's actually where I got the Japanese green tea IPA from. Wow. And that was really good.
Nice.
That was actually a beer pick from Mary Jo from Windows Weekly, so I had to pick that up.
Okay.
And it was good.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I seen you had like 1,126 check-ins. It's like, hey.
Yeah, that was back when I was checking in like everyone I had. But now I don't quite go that far.
Yeah.
But
no, that's good. Hopefully I'll look forward to see what your 500th is. That'll be interesting to see.
Me too. I have actually 2 on the list that I don't know if they have, but here, let's see if I can bring it up. Wish list. One's called Fantasy Factory, which has the ninja cat riding the unicorn on it.
That would be very appropriate for you.
It would. But once again, hard to find. And then the other is called Dragon Slayer. And it's a Russian Imperial Stout, and stouts are my favorite. So anything that has the word stout in it, I'm going to try that first.
You're definitely going to look at it.
And then if I had to, I guess, like, rate my top 3, it would be stout, IPA, and then probably pale ales.
Okay. Nice,
well,
nice.
No, take that back. I believe it's called Marzen, like the Oktoberfests. I love those. Yeah, Marzen, M-A with the little cum laude thingy, the double dots. I forget what you call those. R-Z-E-N. Marzen.
I think there's one. It's like one of my favorites. It's called Lambic Framboise.
That sounds familiar. Don't remember what that is.
It's something that I've actually checked in before. So if you look through, my things, let's see, what is it? It's just called Framboise.
Yes. Okay. So those are the
style lambic. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the fruit beers. Where is it based out of? I forgot.
It's like, I think it's Belgium.
Okay. So the first time I actually had one of those was in New York, in this like real tiny hole in the wall bar that was actually really cool. But I had one of those and it was delicious. It was like their apple one or something.
Yeah. This one was like the raspberry or something like that. It's really, really good, especially when it's like super cold. Oh, makes me want to go have one now. But anyway, we've got some tech news to talk about.
Indeed. So let's jump in.
Let's get back out of the weeds and back on the road. All right. So the first thing that I want to talk about today, and I saw this update yesterday, and it's one of my favorite apps. It's Sunrise Calendar. Now, we all know it's a Microsoft app that integrates calendar.
Well, it is now.
yeah. It is now. So it's available on iOS and Android, but the iOS version got bumped up to version 4.0 yesterday, and it introduces a new feature called Meet, Meet. And what Meet is a keyboard which will help you to quickly schedule meetings. Now, we've all been there where if we're trying to set up an appointment to meet with somebody and you have to keep going back and forth. Okay, what time works for you? What time works for you? What day? You go back and forth and back and forth. Well, what this will allow you to do is you can send somebody a message, whether you're using Facebook Messenger, Skype, text messaging, and you just within that app you switch the keyboard and it becomes a keyboard option, kind of like Swift Key or Swipe if you have that installed on your iPhone. And then you can it opens up kind of a small window of the Sunrise app, and you can scroll through your days and times and just simply tap on different times and then it sends that person a link. And then that person that receives it can click on that link. It opens up in their web browser, and they can select the times or days that you sent them. And you can change it from, I think, either like 15-minute to 1 hour blocks of time. But I was like, oh, this is amazing. I was so glad to see this, because it is really going to make scheduling appointments so much easier. Sometimes when I'm trying to schedule guest interviews and things like that with whether it's this show or another show that we do, the STL Tech Talk podcast, trying to pinpoint a time with everybody's schedule is a challenge. So lately I've been using a service called youcanbookme.com or youcanbook.me. And that kind of works the same way. You just send them a link and they can see your pretty much your entire calendar, not what is in the blocks that you've got already scheduled. So, for privacy concerns, but they can see what times you're available. And, there's a free level, which gives you so much control. And then you can step it up and pay for more premium and give you more features and customization. But that's the other service that I've been using. But now that, this is on iPhone, just built right into the phone, I know I'm going to be using that a lot.
Yeah, so I am actually really excited about the Outlook and the Sunrise calendar that they bought from, I guess, Sunrise. They not only are very pretty and, aesthetically pleasing and all that, but the functionality seems like what you're talking about. That's awesome that you can send people kind of your calendar and the dates that are open that, they can kind of choose instead of, talking about it and then putting it in. It's more of a one-step thing. You send it to them, they click it, it's already done, it's in your calendar.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I know I would use that actually.
And I was looking through the Android version today, and it doesn't look like they've got that integrated yet in the Android version.
As we know, Microsoft and iPhone first. So
yeah, Microsoft is iPhone first.
Yeah.
So hopefully
it's where the enterprise customers are. So I think that's why they choose that first.
Yeah. So hopefully they bring that to Android, and I sure hope the heck that they bring this to Windows Phone as well.
I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be like the stock app for the calendar in Windows Phone.
It should be, because it is the best calendar app I've ever used, and it's free.
Yeah, exactly. And real quick, I had loaded up Windows 10 on my phone, hoping to try out some new apps to maybe talk about them today on the show.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out Windows 10 had other ideas and decided to take away everything that makes it a phone, so I can't do any calls or texts or anything like that now.
But thankfully, it's not your daily driver.
Right. This is why you should never, ever use your daily driver, in my opinion. But, it's your stuff. Do what you want. I'm just warning you. You're going to have a bad time.
We're going to have a rough go at it. Because I installed this last preview that released. What is it? Version 10.080 or something like that.
10.0080?
Yeah, something
like that.
Yeah. I installed it on my 820 last night and did the factory reset after I did that. And, I didn't really have a lot of stuff on it. But my gosh, it was very sluggish and slow and just does not really seem too optimized.
Yeah.
But some visual changes were interesting. I mean, by default, whenever you first load up that device, it's got 2 columns, and I know you can always expand that into like a third. Get the more tiles feature. But man, the big tiles are so big. It's like, oh my gosh, it's huge. So, looking forward to messing with that a little bit more. I haven't had a whole lot of time to mess with that, so maybe one day we'll talk about that some more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But until now, let's move into your story about Bing now highlighting the mobile-friendly websites.
Yeah, so I'm actually a little excited about this because there has been quite a few times when you're looking for stuff, maybe through Bing or Google. Well, Google does their own thing, but you're looking through things on your Windows phone on Bing. And there are times that you just would rather have a mobile site. This kind of fixes, clicking, loading. Oh, it's not a mobile site. Got to back out and find something else that I'm looking for. I mean, I think this is a really good addition to Bing. I mean, they constantly are adding things, but you know, uh, I just love how Bing, it'll go through a little checklist: navigation, readability, scrolling, compatibility, all for mobile friendly, um, sites. And I think that is a really good addition. And just, a little tidbit that maybe you guys would like to know about. So that's why I included it today. What do you think, Kevin? You think this is just, nobody really needs this, or what are your thoughts?
I actually think it's pretty nice because there's been so many times that you go to, you click a link, for example, and it opens up the full-fledged like desktop experience of a website. And oftentimes that is not how I want to, view a website on my mobile device. But by doing searches like this, I like, looking at the image here from the Windows Central story that you posted, mobile friendly dash, and explaining what the website's about. They show the mobile friendly for Windows Phone on Wikipedia. And it just says right there, mobile friendly. So that I like that.
And it can also work the opposite way too. Maybe you don't want a mobile site because mobile sites sometimes aren't so great, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see, oh, mobile friendly. Yep, don't want that.
Right. Yeah. 'Cause some websites, their mobile friendly idea is
exactly
is tough.
So just something to look at especially if you use a Windows phone. More than likely you use Bing, so something to think about.
Yeah. I like it. I think that's it's really good stuff. All right, so let's move into a little bit of security. Not necessarily security, but the Internet of Things. A story came out about ADT announcing a bold vision to lead next generation of security and automation market. Now, basically what caught my eye out of this was ADT, which is well known for home security systems. They are they're signing a partnership with Nest to integrate its acclaimed Nest Learning Thermostat into ADT's Pulse ecosystem. And both of these are made possible through ADT's ongoing investments in its technology and innovation platforms. And ADT is also joining force with LG Electronics. So according to the story from MarketWatch.com, in a first for the company, ADT will deliver the smart security system as an all-in-one security and home automation solution via its collaboration with LG Electronics, the $56 billion global leader in consumer electronics and technology innovation. So that they're going to be introducing, the smart security product, which will combine secure ADT professional monitoring, video hosting with security camera gateway solution, and serve the growing segment of consumers demanding best-in-class professional security monitoring coupled with an intuitive premium product. So the Internet of Things and being able to control things with your phone and just all this stuff with your house, just right from your phone and mobile device. The future is getting close to being here, if it's not already here.
Yeah, so this is a really smart move on ADT's part, in my opinion. Teaming up with like the likes of Nest and LG, that's pretty substantial. Um, I feel like this was definitely a right move for them, and especially since more and more people are leaning towards those consumer devices rather than getting their services from, let's say, ADT directly and having them come install security cameras and of the like. But they're definitely looking towards the future and ahead a little bit, and I think they will be here for a while. Just looking at this story, like I said, teaming up with Nest and LG was a smart move, um, and I think we'll see more of this, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and also some new partners which were previously announced, such as Ford Sync, Intel Security, iControl Networks, Life 360, and IF, which is formerly If This Then That, IFTTT. So it's going to be an interesting year. ADT making some moves. I like that.
Yeah.
So just real quick before we move into the next story, listener Daryl Pritchard out of Texas is saying here in the chat, which, if you'd like to get involved in the live chat discussion, you can always go to thetechinformist.com/live. And he's talking about our show was discussed at some Microsoft meetings. Really, that's kind of like the, after hours, after meetings and stuff where they were talking about podcasts with other Microsoft employees. So I would like to thank all you Microsoft employees for listening to The Tech Informist. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So
you guys are my favorite.
Yep. Brad, I love you guys, and I'm really rooting for you in 2015. It's a big year for you guys, and I know you're all very excited. All right, so let's see. Which did we go to? All right, yeah. So your next story, Brad, is about some goo which accurately paints patterns on a 3D printed creation.
Yeah, so if you're even slightly familiar with hydrographics, this is kind of big. Hydrographics is basically you take a kind of film that has a printed object on it, and you lay it in the water, you spray an activator, it melts into the water, and then you roll or set in like what you're dipping. So my buddy really more my mentor at work, he does this kind of as a side project. And so they'll take his son works at a gun store here in Missouri, and they'll take guns apart and they'll dip them into camouflage of various types. I actually had him dip a 360 controller for me in digital camo, and when you're dipping it tends to stretch and conform to what it is, whereas this actually already knows where the stretches will happen and compensates for that. So when you go to dip it, it is essentially perfect, which is kind of incredible because this is not an easy process to do. So seeing this, they're showing, they looks like they did a Jaguar of some kind, and they 3D printed a Jaguar, and then they put the film on top of the water, and they just dip this object, and when it comes out, it looks exactly like the digital model.
Looking at some of the these small little videos that are on this Gizmodo article, that looks freaky. It looks like they're not embalming, but stuffing.
Yeah,
taxidermy. That's it. Looks like I don't know. It just looks. You have to look at these images and little videos.
But back to hydrographics, usually it stretches and contorts and does things you don't necessarily want it to do, whereas they're dipping this mask right here with the tiger face on it, that it starts out bigger than the mask, and then it just sucks right on top of the mask, exactly where it's supposed to be. I mean, that's pretty incredible, and I think we're going to definitely see more and more of this kind of thing.
And the
pop up.
results are amazing. That's
Oh yeah, I mean you can dip all kinds of things. Like people dip wheels on cars. In fact, my friend at work dipped a roof for a Corvette in carbon fiber, and it turned out awesome. Just amazing. It's just amazing what you can do with the hydrographics. And this is just like that extra step further, for accuracy and realism, so to speak.
yeah,
So this really caught my attention.
yeah, that's definitely very interesting stuff. All right. Speaking of interesting, as we kind of teased at the beginning of the show, you went and saw Neil deGrasse Tyson
I did.
just a couple nights ago. Tell us about the experience for, and people that are not familiar with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I can't even talk today. Kind of explain, kind of his personality and what the show was like, the mood and
So
that experience.
his personality is incredible because he will take the most basic thing. Like he took the arch, for instance. He's like, oh, came to St. Louis and I was checking out the arch, and what are you guys all walking around and not looking at this thing? Look at this thing. This thing's amazing. And he's like, oh, I'm sure you guys learned, what it was called in such and such grade. When was that? And we're all kind of chit-chatting amongst ourselves. And then he actually told us like the actual name of what that arch is. And the whole place went quiet. We're like, oh, that's what that is.
We live here.
So yeah, that arch actually has a specific name for like the design, for lack of better words, of what that shape. The shape of the arch is. It has a specific design, and he told us that, and I had since forgot it because I didn't know it beforehand. But if you look up, information about the arch, I'm sure you could find it somewhere. But just that small little detail just kind of blew our minds. And he actually did another one, and I kind of want to ask the same question just to see what you think, Kevin. If there were a huge comet heading towards Earth, and let's say today was your last day on Earth, what would you do?
Oh man, that is a good question. I really don't. Is this something like we can see it, off in the distance, and it's just coming right for us, or
yes,
we just know it's going to hit somewhere on the Earth? And
yes, and it's huge, and it could possibly wipe out all life on Earth as we know it.
What would I do? Well, it wouldn't. Well, I guess that's when you start looting. Start looting places, so you can try to get in a few minutes of time with something.
So he had actually also asked this to a bunch of college students, and most of the answers were, oh, definitely getting drunk tonight kind of thing. The thing that I guess sort of bothered him is most of those answers were the typical, end of the world stuff. But he was waiting for somebody to say, man, I want to try to stop this thing. I want to try to help stop this thing. Right. And that was more of like the way he goes about getting your like creative juices flowing, so to speak. Like he will ask a silly question like that, but then tell you the answer he was hoping you were going to say. And then like your mind just starts like doing all these processes and like thinking of all these like different things. It's just amazing how he can do that. And he's a very, very funny guy. Mm-hmm. He's definitely on top of pop culture, and I think that's what helps him convey his message, because he can relate to the crowd very easily compared to like maybe a normal scientist that isn't so into the pop culture as much.
Right.
He'd also talked briefly about Pluto not being a planet anymore, and how he kind of helped usher that in. I mean, did that ever bother you that Pluto became a not planet now?
Yeah, how they declassified it as a planet or what? I'm like, why?
Did that ever bother you?
It was aggravating in the fact that I'm like, okay, so we've grown up for years thinking, knowing Pluto as a planet, what is it really going to make? What sort of difference? What does it prove or really change if we change its classification from a planet to a big rock? Or
So there was a lot of good examples in this that I'm glad you said, because I thought the same thing, especially when I first heard about Pluto being demoted. I thought that it was kind of silly and why would we do this? But if you think about it, this is kind of how science works. We think something is true, like, for instance, when the Earth was flat, we thought that that was true until somebody proves it wrong. So some of his colleagues had noticed a lot of odd behaviors that Pluto has, which, by the way, we have a probe. I forget what it's called. It's coming up on Pluto. We are going to, in the matter of, I want to say, days, get like first, real good photographic picture, just visuals of Pluto and its really tiny moons, which, by the way, our moon is, I want to say, like 6 times bigger than Pluto. So if that gives you any idea of how it's not so much like a planet. Another thing is when Pluto orbits the sun, it isn't in the same plane as all of our planets. So that's a very not planet-like
so its orbit
behavior.
is really
orbit is
off.
30 degrees. I think it's 30 degrees out of whack. So with that alone, that's an indication, hey, maybe this isn't a planet. Also, its chemical makeup is not of a planet. Like, it is mostly ice. If you were to set Pluto next to the sun, it would probably just vaporize into just, nothing.
Yeah,
because
most planets we know of are primarily
have like an iron core or some
gas
kind of, exactly. Another thing is its orbit, how the Earth and the moon will orbit, but the axis of the orbit is still based inside the actual planet. Like the Earth doesn't move out of its orbit to the tune of the gravitational pull of our moon. In fact, it's the moon moving around us. But with Pluto and its moons, around its biggest moon, it kind of does this swirly dance thing, which is definitely not a planet kind of thing. So it actually moves outside of its axis. And I mean, there's just so many compelling things to say this isn't a planet. So once you see that and you hear it from somebody who's far more intelligent than I am, but once you see and realize, hey, this isn't a planet, it's okay to say we were wrong before.
Right.
It's okay to change the textbook, so to speak, and say that we do only have 8 planets, because now I do believe that, and now I'm okay with believing that because the evidence was presented in front of me in a fantastic way.
In a way that you could understand. I mean, that's one nice thing about him, is that he explains these high level topics in ways that average person can understand and relate to, which is one reason why I believe that show Cosmos is so popular.
Oh, it's fantastic. Which, by the way, if you guys haven't seen Cosmos, you need to see it. If you haven't, if you listen to podcasts, which you're listening to this one, so hey, check out Star Talk Radio. It is also fantastic. One other thing that I just a little mind stretching exercise that he did. He's like, very rarely does Mother Nature make only one of something. So he kind of talked about how, we have multiple solar systems and we have multiple galaxies. Well, those multiple galaxies might make up multiple universes, which would be a multiverse. And those multiple multiverses could, be more of those. And he just kept compounding and compounding, and you're thinking so far out, and how tiny we are, and thinking that far out isn't just incredible to think about, because as far as we know right now, there's only one universe. But once again, Mother Nature very rarely makes only one of something.
Right.
So for there to be another universe is pretty incredible, and for there to be multiple universes is pretty incredible to think about.
Yeah,
So
it is. There's probably life out there. We just, we just may be too far away to realistically find it.
they could be in a completely another universe thinking the same thing. We don't know. That's the other thing I really like about him, is he's very open to the unknown that we don't know yet, like the multiverse and such.
You can't rule out life on other planets because we haven't been to all the other planets. We haven't been to all the other
Exactly.
universes, to all their planets, and et cetera, et cetera. So,
And he did a little Q&A towards the very end, and we stuck around for that because, well, I mean, we paid a pretty premium price for the ticket, so got to get your money's worth, right?
Yeah, stay as long as you can until they kick you out.
Pretty much. I was only a little disappointed that they didn't have a little more merchandise, because I would have actually really liked a shirt or something, because I like promoting silly things like that, wearing shirts and such,
Yeah,
like all my Microsoft shirts. But yeah, towards the end, he had like one of the last girls, and she's like, you told us to get over Pluto not being a planet, right? So she's like, can you give us like an acronym or whatever you call it in place of my very educated mother just served us pizza? He's like, yeah. So he's like, my very educated mother just served us nachos. So I just thought that was funny. He can just think of things, on a whim. It just does not seem like it takes him a lot to come up with something. And apparently he's been into, science since he was 9. So it's no wonder he's really good at what he does. And he was giving like seminars when he was 15. Now, I don't know where you were when you were 15, but I know I was just like playing video games.
Yeah, I was, that's,
being a kid.
Freshman year, learning how to type on, in keyboarding class.
Yeah, like
typewriters,
normal kid stuff.
Terrible. Because, it's really interesting, the fact that, he has really become so, to me, somebody that doesn't really follow that as much as I really should and wish I could. It's just really become so popular these last few years. And like, you see his name all the time.
So the first time I remember seeing him was on a series called The Universe. And he would guest star appearance on this frequently because, well, he was really good at explaining, things in space. It's what he does. He's an astrophysicist. And after that, it seemed like he just got bigger and bigger and started, after that, he started Star Talk Radio in like 2013. So I want to say around 2013, he really started to take off. And then 2014, he had the Cosmos, a Space-Time Odyssey, which was kind of an ode to Carl Sagan's Cosmos. It's something journey, or I can't remember completely, but I think he's been in the news so much because he's very good at what he does. People like him. He's funny. I mean, funny being the most important thing, I think, because it keeps your interest during, like, we were there for, let's see, from 8 at night till 11.
Wow. Okay.
And it did not feel like it. It felt like it wasn't long enough. Like I could have sat there and listened to him longer.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
He just has so much information and a different outlook on things. Like, for instance, when I was asking the question, what would you do, if a comet was heading towards Earth? He's like, well, I'd want to stop it. And there was no like right or wrong answer. It's the way he thinks versus maybe how we think. And I think that's pretty incredible, the way he thinks.
And he's still fairly young. He's only 56, so.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're a kid of the 90s, I'm sure you know Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yeah.
Well, him and Neil deGrasse are constantly, together on shows and, getting people to think about science, which that brings me to one more point. 20th century, so 1900s and up, we used to do this cool thing where we would build buildings taller than the rest of the world, and we would do other things before the rest of the world. And he had kind of measured this up to, well, you got to look at it this way. He's like, I used to think that was silly, but it's kind of not, because of the end product. You have to innovate in order to make the tallest building in the world. You have to innovate in order to make the fastest whatever in the world. And that's really actually healthy for our economy, because you take, like, let's say we want to make the tallest building in the world in America now. It takes a lot of manpower. That takes a lot of money. That takes a lot of everything. But it also takes a lot of innovation, and that's something that we've gotten away from since, I want to say, the 90s. We don't innovate the way we used to. And I think we need to start getting back into doing that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Oh, I felt like I've been talking a little while.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and talk for a little while. See, that's why I let you talk, because I can't even talk today. Okay, so this next story is from TechCrunch, and it just really caught my eye because using a 3D printer along with an Arduino, which is very small little like Raspberry Pi kind of these small little chips, programmable chips to be able to do things. And what this product is, it's not really a product, something some guy came up with. He's able to open a master lock, the combination locks we're all familiar with from like high school and stuff like that. And he uses this device and he can open master locks. It turns the dial and stops and goes left, right, left, however far it needs to go to the right numbers, and then it will unlock. And we've got a link to this. There's a nice YouTube video that's a little over 12 minutes long, kind of talking about the whole process and the materials and everything that he used to be able to do this. It's like, man, that's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. Now, I mean, obviously, master locks are not the most secure things. Just take a hammer, you can get them to pop open. But for just minor stuff, hanging on a locker. Obviously, that's why we've used them for years. But just being able to see this in action is like, oh my gosh, that is impressive. That is very, very impressive.
Yeah, that takes a lot to even crack, just normal locks.
Yeah.
And that is impressive.
Yeah. Now I don't know if some criminal's going to do this and do a big, what was that, Ocean's 11 and stuff like that, with the robbing safes and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's more fail safes that it would be harder to do something like that. But this is still, it's like a lock you would put on your locker at the gym or something. Yeah. So it's not super, it's not super out there in terms of, I guess, security or whatnot. I mean, somebody could just come up with a pair of clippers and clip it off too.
Yeah.
But it's still really impressive that this guy built and 3D printed and made all these things just to do a combination on a lock. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. All right, so let's move into the final story, which is yours, about Walmart and Amazon.
Yeah, this just sort of piqued my interest, and I thought I'd throw it in here at the end, just because, well, as you all know, Amazon has Amazon Prime, and it's about $100 to get that. But with that, you get a Netflix-like service. I think it's still called Amazon Prime.
Yeah, Amazon Prime Instant Video.
There you go. And and for somebody who buys a lot of things on Amazon, you have the ability to also buy videos and watch it on, I know our Xbox has the app, and I'm sure multiple platforms have that app. Mm-hmm. So, that's an interesting way to buy videos other than like through iTunes or Xbox or whatever. But with this, you don't get the video, but you get it at a discount at 50%. Microsoft is going, or Microsoft, God, I have Microsoft on mine, sorry.
Microsoft's on the brain.
Yeah. Walmart is going to be doing a similar subscription fee that'll be $50 a year. And it'll be like Amazon Prime, where you get the 2-day shipping, and it's free on, you know, items sold by them. So I'm assuming anything you see in the Walmart online store, you could get with 2-day shipping, free shipping for $50. And if you shop at Walmart a lot, hey, maybe this is right up your alley, and you would rather maybe shop here than Amazon. This might be right up your alley.
Mhm.
So just a little information for our listeners.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I know this last week we'd ordered what was it? What I'd order? Oh, something for our cats. And I knew, with the 2-day shipping, they said, yeah, it'll be there Sunday. I'm like, okay. Sometimes when they say, oh, it'll be here on Sunday, it shows up on Monday. But
Right.
it showed up on Sunday. My wife's like, when did they start delivering on Sunday? I'm like, well, once they partnered up with the United States Postal Service, which is like a whole, like, my gosh.
Yeah, it's really weird to think about packages coming in on Sundays.
Yeah. But they do deliver on Sundays, so when it says Sunday delivery, don't be too surprised if you get
It
something.
actually shows up on Sunday.
Yeah. All right, so let's move into app and entertainment picks. My app pick is, again, it's Sunrise. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. It's for iOS and Android. It's free. It's amazing. If you have never tried it, download it. It's a great app. Highly recommend. And also, I'll throw out there Untapped. If you do like to drink a lot of different beers and experiment and try different ones and see what your other friends are drinking. It's really a nice way to discover new beers.
It's kind of like Facebook for beer. So, without the drama, maybe.
Yeah, it's not really a whole lot of commenting and posting and stuff like that. It's just, I just checked in drinking this. Or
It's a good way to keep track of what you have had.
Yeah.
So that way you're not drinking the same thing twice if you're trying to try a bunch of different beers.
And you can rate them with a level of like 1 to 4, 1 to 5, something like that.
Yeah, it's 1 to 5. And actually, since they have updated the Untapped app on Windows Phone recently, it's actually up to par with the Android and iOS apps now, where you can actually get you could give a 3.25 star rating now instead of just have
Either
now
just
it's
1, 2,
quarter.
3, or 4. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good app, and I highly recommend it. It's available on all 3 platforms: iOS, Android, and Windows Phone. All right, you're up, Brad.
All right, so a few days back, I want to say Windows Central might have done something on this, but it's called N7 Player Music Player, and it's on Android. I believe it's free on Android, but it had said something about in-app purchases that I didn't really dive too far into it to really check it out. But I do know it's $2 on Windows Phone. Now, as you know, the music player on Windows phones isn't incredibly liked by most people. But this is interesting about the N7 player is it's very, I want to say, Zune/Metro-like. Like when you, here, let me just open it up here in a second. When you first start it up, you just have a bunch of your bands just written out in word form. You don't actually see album art, and it's just kind of like this collage of words, so to speak. And it definitely reminds me of Zune a little bit. But then if you use your fingers and you zoom in, you actually see all your album artwork and all the different music you have, and it's all tiled, they're all squared off in perfect squares.
It actually looks like Pocket Cast in a way with that.
Yeah, it definitely does. And if you go to play something that looks that looks beautiful as well, and you can queue up music and play things next and just keep queuing. It's a very beautifully done app. And if you're looking to even just, check it out, I mean, you can check it out for free. There is a try button. I don't know how long that lasts, but that's actually what I'm doing. And it's definitely an app worth checking out. If you love just love to play music, and you don't necessarily have an Xbox Music Pass. You just load up your music on your phone, because you like to micromanage your music. This is definitely an app to look towards, and that's on Windows Phone and Android.
Yeah. Yeah, so free with in-app purchases on Android.
Yes.
Installing it now, actually. Right. Well, good show, Brad.
Yeah. Had lots of fun. Once again, if Neil deGrasse Tyson, if you're even just remotely interested in the cosmos, Neil deGrasse Tyson is a fantastic guy and has a great outlook on life, I think. And if you get the chance to go see him, I would, because I feel it would change maybe one of your lives completely. And if it's just one, that's better than none. So I would definitely go check him out.
Yep, definitely. So if he's coming to your area, go see him.
I believe Cosmos is still on Netflix, so go watch that this weekend.
There you go. All right. Well, that does it for this episode. Thank everybody for listening and watching live, and also popping into the chat room, which you can do every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern Standard Time at thetechinformist.com/live. Again, connect with us on social media, send feedback, suggestions to contact@thetechinformist.com. And if you are interested in becoming a sponsor/advertiser of the show, please reach out and go to iTunes and leave a review and rate the show, please. And spread the word. Tell a friend or 10. So, and until next time, that does it for both Brad and myself. Everybody have a great weekend. And until Monday, our next show. Trying to think.
18th.
Yeah, actually, so 16th, 17th, 18th. Yeah, 18th, yes. So Monday, May the 18th. Until then, consider yourself informed. We are out.
Have a great weekend, everybody.